Time and tide wait for no man. Geoffrey Chaucer. Do Zone Tribe, Josh Thomas. If you haven't already, check out thedozone.com for productivity tips, accountability, and overall just a great bunch of human beings looking to get more stuff done. Once again, that's thedozone.com. Today's guest is JasonLaBrash. Jason and his father, Roger, own a blacksmith shop in Phoenix, Arizona that produces ironwork such as gates, railings, and other decorative metal products for luxury estates throughout the Southwest. I'm super excited to have you on here. I've seen some of your work, Jason. Welcome. Say what's up to the Do Zone Tribe and tell us something you believe is the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of.
Well, Josh, thanks for having me. And yeah, I know that was a mouthful on my my bio there. I've always had a hard time to narrowing down that our description of what we do. But I think for a key of what or how to get things done is it's where your day starts, and how you start your day. In the morning, I used to get up and just fly out of bed, go to work, and mostly because of the way our company is we start early in the morning. We're in Arizona, so it's a kind of a little more normal thing here to start at 5-6 o'clock in the morning just to beat the heat. And so trying to be in before our employees and get them going, that means getting up early too. And I always made an excuse that I couldn't get up, much earlier. So I just, get up last minute and be out the door, no breakfast, nothing, just straight out the door. And when I started having a more morning routine, even if it's just as simple as making breakfast, and getting your head right, I got more done in the day. But when I included actually working out and making breakfast, maybe even laying out my clothes the night before, that kind of thing, it just changes the whole pace of the day. So you're not starting from behind. So that's my key.
Yeah, just getting up early and starting that day early. And it's interesting that you have this kind of environmental factor of, well, we got to start working at 5 a.m. because it's going to be like 130 degrees at noon. And
yeah,
nobody
exactly.
wants to be outside in that.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing is, we want to consider our environment, because our environment really dictates a lot about what we do. If we get up early and we get started early, there are typically less distractions. There's less noise. There's less noise in your head, and there's less noise outside of your head
for sure.
Those early morning hours. And I've heard time and time again of some of the most productive and effective people on the planet they get up early because they can get more done at that time. Their brain is fresher and there are less distractions. Is that kind of what you found?
I think so. Yeah. And I think the excuse I had for a long time was I'm already getting up early. I'm already getting up, in the summer we start at 5. And and so when I heard that before, it was, well, I'm already getting up early, so I'm doing what everyone else is doing. But the thing is it wasn't getting up to prepare myself for that day. So I found I need a couple hours, honestly, if I'm going to get workout, breakfast, shower, things like that, and it depends on it. I change how I do it, depending on, what kind of workout I'm doing or just kind of seasons. But if it's 5 o'clock in the morning that I need to be in the office, it might be 3 o'clock, getting up in the morning, but it's worth it. So let's talk about something here. I have been surrounded by entrepreneurs for the better part of a decade, and there are marketing guys, there are agencies, there are roofers, there are car salespeople. There's all different kinds of entrepreneurs, but I've never met anybody that owns a metal shop that runs around in those circles. And so I'm just curious, how did you kind of get into this, looking to grow personally and expand your mind and surrounding yourself with other people who are doing things and building their business, being in an industry where it traditionally is a lot more, for lack of a better word, kind of humble? Mm-hmm. So it all started probably early high school, maybe actually even junior high. My dad somehow got tickets and was given tickets to like a success show. And I remember Zig Ziglar was one of the speakers. And there was a few other lists. I mean, of some pretty big names. And it was a free thing. I mean, I think, they were handing out tickets, and they pitched their courses and things. And we ended up going to one that was all about, we ended up buying a course into stock trading and, investing, which then led to one of the suggestions at one of those. It was another seminar conference that also pitched more things and all kinds of things, and that led to one of their suggestions was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mm.
And then so I'm sure it was like freshman year of high school, I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that just kind of just stuck. I mean, I think with just reading those kind of books through high school, and just kept on evolving into different things. And just over time, I've just fell into some different groups, networking groups, and finally found Apex, where I've met you. So, and finally, I feel like more on the right track, I'll be honest. So, some of them, they either just didn't have the right focus, or the right people in them, all kinds of things.
So, you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you were reading that in high school, and we've spent some time together, and you run a fantastic business. Like I personally, I can't say that I've ever met anybody else that runs a metal shop at all, or anything even similar.
Okay.
Let alone somebody that has systems, that has management systems in place for their employees, and that is building company culture and core values. And I'm like, wow, but it's encouraging because my daughter is in high school. Mm-hmm. And for Christmas, I got her The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And about a year prior, I had read that book, and it changed my life. And she was going through some challenges. She's kind of growing into herself and trying to figure things out. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to gift you this book. And I gifted her the book, and within the last couple of days, she opened it up and started reading it. And I was thinking to myself, how is this going to impact her life? It can't be bad.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, she's used to reading like anime manga and stuff like that. I mean, this is a nonfiction book about getting your mind right. And I checked in with her after she read the first few pages, and she's like, this makes my brain hurt. But she opened it up and she started reading it, and that gives me courage that she's going to finish it. And knowing that you're reading books like that when you were in high school and seeing where you are, that's encouragement for the future. And tell me a little bit about, how do you instill that in your children? I know you have small kids.
So it's a challenging. I mean, they're still young. I mean, they're still 2 and 5. So,
so no heavy reading just yet.
Not yet.
But as far as your plan for, you had this experience, and I'm so glad that you shared that with me, with your father. And he said, look, son, there is another way that you can look at life, productivity.
Yeah.
How do you take that and pass it down to the next generation?
And so he didn't even actually, I feel like, had that exact outlook at the time either. I mean, he had a set up it's a family run business. And so he's still heavily involved, but like, I guess that he just kind of saw this as an opportunity. And for some reason, I mean, I actually was like, I didn't go to school that day to go to that event, that initial event. But for some reason he thought it would, be impactful for some reason. But like I think he was just kind of just doing what he felt was right all along before that, setting up his own business. But I guess going back to the question, like with how I do it with my kids. I mean, I have bought the entire set of Andy Frisella's books, children's books. I had started reading them when my daughter was much younger. It just, a little bit too young for her to really understand. So we're still kind of waiting at a right time for her to kind of grasp it a little more. She's actually probably at that point now. But I feel like, his books are teaching a children's book that teaches the concepts of competition, discipline, winning, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I would actually probably start them off when they get a little bit older, like with maybe a book like The Alchemist. I mean, something like that. That's a simple book, but yet, very powerful, depending on when you read it. I had listened or actually read that book when I was like 14 or 15. Not really knowing so much of what the kind of book it was, until the end.
Right. Got it. And so as far as what you've learned after all of this education and application for your shop, I know that you run a pretty efficient show over there. So talk to me about some of the things that you've been able to put in place in this kind of industrial environment that has really helped your business grow.
Well, we set up core values a year and a half ago. And I'll be honest, we're still fine tuning and still working ways to implement them better. We're still, that's a long work in progress. And I think, we've got more ideas coming soon, but, a lot of it is, productivity has helped a lot, like in my personal productivity. But then I think just even though the core values we're having to trying to get them instilled, I guess, in the company culture. I think a lot of what's happened too is that like there's been a shift in the last few years that both myself and my dad, both of us are taking care of ourselves more physically, spending more time on us, and they see that. Our employees see that, and it's just a different culture of employees that we have at the moment than we did, I would say, before that happened. And I don't even think we realized that happened so much. Is like when I don't know, I guess I don't know, it's we started caring about them and our own selves over just getting the jobs and production and business done.
So what you're telling me is the fact that you're investing in yourself and you're taking care of yourself, your employees are seeing that and it's having a positive impact on them in some way. How's that affecting them?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I it just feels like how do I answer that? I mean, let me see that. I mean, we just have a better culture. There's,
It seems to me like if I were working in a place, and I mean, it's hard work what you do. It's hard manual labor. And I'm sure it gets up to really hot there in the shop, and you're banging on iron, and there's a kiln, and all this stuff is going on. And then if I'm working in this environment and I see the person that I look up to that pays my paychecks taking time to invest in themselves and giving me the freedom to do it, and not only the freedom to do it, but encouraging me to do it. Hey, listen, you got to take care of yourself. This job isn't your life.
Yeah.
It almost makes me more dedicated to that job and to that environment. There's a really great book by Craig Hanley called, I believe it's called Hired to Quit. And Craig Hanley is this really, really interesting guy. And he built a call center in Mexico, and he paid them like real wages and treated them really, really well. And one of the things that he instilled in them was, hey, your dream is probably not to build a world-class call center. That's my dream.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to share my dream. And so I'm going to support you in finding whatever your dream is. And they have all of these, hey, we'll pay for your college. We give you paid time off, and we just he created this culture to say, you need to take care of yourself. And what happened was people didn't leave.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you know what? This isn't my dream, but I actually love being here. I'm going to stay.
Yeah. It sounds a lot like the book, The Dream Manager. Have you read that one?
No.
Very similar. I mean, it's about, discovering what your employees' dreams are, then and finding what they want to do, and where they plan to go. And I'd say more recently, some of that I sat down with a few of our guys and just asked them directly, like, hey, what's your goal in the next 3-5 years? And one of them wanted to be slightly more independent, in a sense, or more or less do what we do. And I was like, okay, well, but he wanted to see the job from start to finish, and be really seeing the finish. And I didn't realize that he didn't like work. He liked working in the shop, but he liked actually seeing the finished product, and we knew he would be good on our installation crew, but we just thought he actually liked it in the shop. So we actually switched it around, and he's actually excelled a ton being on the install crew. Plus, he has a little bit of independence and feels like he has the full ownership. And I told him, I'm like, I want you to feel like you have your own business, but I don't want you to. I want to make it so that you never want to leave, because I'm going to make it so that it's enjoyable for you. You don't have to deal with all the other stuff of the business. So, and so he's completely happy with that. So at the moment,
sometimes all we have to do is ask the question, and we'll get the answer.
Yeah, it really is. And that's, I mean, the main thing of the book is, really finding out what your employees want and need. Sometimes it's super simple. It's not money all the time. And sometimes it's, it's a better way of getting to and from work, and, or simplifying things. And so that's what the book goes about, and yeah.
So how do you manage, as far as time management? Well, let's back up, because we're on an audio podcast. Most people can't see the fact that you and I look almost exactly alike. We get mistaken for each other constantly, which is weird, because I don't think I look anything like you, but but take me through what is it that you do exactly, and just describe it so that people can understand. I mean, I've seen your work, and it is gorgeous. You do these amazing things, but describe it in your words, what it is that you actually do for people.
Our company.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we produce architectural ironwork, and so that includes gates, railings, decorative metalwork, mostly residential products or projects that we're working on for high-end homes. So usually homes that are 2-3 million and up. Sometimes they're $25 million homes. So I mean, we'll do railings and things that are more custom. So we're trying not to use off-the-shelf products that can be purchased, that a lot of other fabricator shops can use or they may buy. And we do a lot of actual blacksmithing in our shop. So we forge products and parts in-house. So and sometimes we'll be able to forge custom elements that are unique to each product, or each item. So maybe there's a railing that has a special baluster in it, that there's a special detail that that railing will be the only one that ever has that. So I mean, we're reshaping the metal, taking maybe a square bar and turning it into an oval or something. So I mean, it could be a lot more complicated than that. So I mean, we're trying to just but also at the same time, we solve a lot of problems for clients using metal. There's all kinds of things of basically building fixtures and brackets so that there's a floating shower seat in this stone floating shower, or like a stone seat in the shower, and you'll never see the metal in the end. It'll just be floating, and people maybe never even think about it, but if there's someone who does, they'll be like, oh, how'd they make that work? Because it shouldn't.
So a lot of really unique designs then, it sounds.
Yes.
And so what would you say, just kind of based on your experience, and I know this is something that you do with your dad, what would you say is really the difference between the types of jobs you get and some regular metal shop that's coming in and putting in rebar or whatever? Like, what do you think separates this custom work that you do from just any other contractor?
I think like some of it is just that because we're we're usually not afraid of a challenge and solving a problem, or making something work. Sometimes it's where other places just say it can't be done, and we when that happens, we'll be like, okay, we'll figure it out. And for some reason we always do. But the other thing is that we have just the capability to forge those parts and pieces that just others can't. Like some other places may say, just they'll do everything cut out of plate, out of like with a laser or plasma cutter, where we'll actually forge elements. And it just goes back to being able to reproduce things that have been done for centuries.
Let me ask you a question about something you said. When you get into a situation, somebody says, "Oh, it can't be done," and then you say, "Yeah, we'll figure it out." Take me there. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
What is your process for figuring it out? Is there like a step 1, step 2, step 3? Like, and the reason I'm asking this is because as entrepreneurs, as business owners, a lot of times we're faced with problems that are like, that can't be done. And then we have to basically say, all right, we'll figure it out. And so we have our own methods, and some of those methods are really messy. And so can you walk me through, like, all right, if you're looking at an impossible situation where like three other people have turned this job down, you're like, all right, I got to figure it out. What is that 1, 2, 3 process that you do to kind of figure it out?
Well, I guess, of course, I'm analyzing the problem to begin with. And I mean, there's some problems that just we do turn down, but there's so I guess, we first would analyze the problem, but also we would kind of define all the constraints of what is required to fit that issue. Like, is weight in effect? Is the size? Maybe it's how it's mounted. There could be structural issues, some things like that. But it also look at, is cost an issue compared to what it is? Because sometimes, any problem can be solved with the right amount of money for the most part. So, and so, if it's a very limited budget, we may not be able to solve it. And we do also look at, truly, is it within our spectrum, within our scope? Because there are some materials that we just, we don't work with. We obviously do more work in metal, but we don't do work in all metals. So I guess I look at that, what the constraints are. And then I don't know, it's, just kind of rely on experience, like past experience. And then one great thing I think is, because we're dealing in construction, well, I mean, I've been doing it, for 15 years, 16 years, been around it. But my dad has another, 30 years on me of that experience in construction, in previous construction, doing woodwork and from framing to finished carpentry, and then, just from his dad learning all the other basics of plumbing and things like that. So we've got a wide range of things to fall back on. And then, so if there is an area that I don't understand, I mean, it could be as simple as Googling it, looking it up, searching somewhere, or finding the person who does know the answer. Like,
you really, I don't know if you realize this, but you actually, you outlined a pretty genius pattern to follow. And I wrote it down here, and I'm going to feed it back to you, and you're gonna be like, did I say that? The first thing that we do, okay, so if we're faced with a problem that seems impossible, according to Jason, the first thing you need to do is you need to analyze the problem and understand it. The next thing you need to do is you need to define the constraints that you're working in. And then after that, consider your cost concerns. And then once you've considered all of that, then you have to determine, is this something that is within my scope to be able to solve? And then finally, you rely on some past experience and some precedent, things that have happened in the past, to really understand, should I move forward with this or not? You said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't number it, but yeah. And like I said, I would say that 6th step is that when I find the portion that we don't know, is then we seek outside help. So, and
nice. See,
And that's where having a good network of people is extremely helpful. Um, I'm in several different networks, plus of just the, one-on-one connections you have over the years. Um, hey, I know someone who has dealt with something similar, or um, or reach out to this other network and say, has anyone else dealt with this problem? So
yep. Awesome. And I feel like now that we're kind of digging into how your brain works here, I think it's time for us to check out the Do Zone diagnostic. Are you ready?
All right.
All right. I'm gonna crack open your noggin and take a look at the inside, and I'll put it back together probably.
Uh-oh.
So this is a series of 5 questions I ask every guest so that we can see how your brain ticks, soak up all the knowledge that we can. Just rapid fire, first thing that comes to mind. So what is one thing you do, Jason, that keeps you focused on your goals?
I look back to my family, my kids, my wife. I have several pictures around my office of them, like over here and over here, and that helps me remember why I'm doing it.
Nice. And how do you get back on track whenever you lose that focus?
I go for a walk. Sometimes if I feel kind of stuffy in my head or something after working on something for a while in my office, I get up and I walk out into our shop, walk around, which I usually find some more problems out there, but that clears my head of the problem I have initially in my, of feeling stuck sometimes.
And who is your support group, and how do they keep you accountable?
So I guess I have several. I mean, of course, my wife and my dad, which I work one-on-one, I work daily with my dad. And then, I guess I have a few people I talk to. We call it the pain gang. We talk every week. I'll bring it up. There's a few guys that I've met through Apex, and we talk weekly, and are always setting like a weekly accountability goals that just help us just do those little micro movements forward.
Nice. The pain gang, you said?
Yeah, it's Brian Bursick, Chase Scroggins, and Alex Keats, and myself.
Awesome. Bringing the pain.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line on what to do and what to delegate?
Usually it comes down to, I mean, if I know someone else can do this task easily enough, and it's repetitive enough, I need to be delegating it. And it comes down, being a business owner, I'll kind of refer it to Thomas Keenan's time buckets that he mentions in his book. And is it a $10 an hour task, $50 an hour task, and so on. If it's one of those lower dollar an hour tasks that I can train someone else to do, I should be delegating it. So.
Got it. And last question, what is the number one pro tip you'd give to someone looking to get more stuff done in less time?
Eliminate as many distractions as possible. And that's a tough one for me as well. Something like what I found I like to do is set a timer and set it so you're trying to beat that timer to get something done or several things done. I found that actually increases productivity during the day. So
okay, great. Yeah, I like it, setting the timer. And so tell me a little bit about your business. First of all, tell us where we can learn more about it. It's called Grizzly Iron. That's a cool name. Why is it called Grizzly Iron? And who do you serve?
So it's called Grizzly Iron. My dad has a long story of a bear encounter when he was 14 years old. So, and ever since he was obsessed with bears. And my mom she had picked up the similar obsession, when they got married, and So when he started a business, they wanted something a little unique and went with grizzly. And being in Arizona, we don't actually have any really grizzly bears, so so it also makes it unique for our area. So we serve, like I said, high-end residential clients. We actually work with builders, contractors, designers, sometimes architects, and then also directly with the homeowners. So like I said, most of them are going to be, $2-3 million homes and up. And yeah, and we actually ship across the country sometimes too, because people have found us online. We've shipped as far as Hawaii and Virginia and Florida.
I can imagine it's probably pretty costly to ship iron structures to Hawaii.
Luckily, I didn't have to find that out too much. Luckily, the couple projects that we had been working on, they had regular shipments in containers coming out of LA. So they would load up a container with as much stuff as possible. So all we had to do was get it to Long Beach.
Awesome. Yeah. Well done then. That's cool. And so Grizzly Iron, and the website is grizzlyiron.com.
That's correct. That's our business website. So.
And can we go there and see any photos of past work that you've done, or is there somewhere else that you can guide us for that?
No, there's plenty of photos on our website, as well as how to contact us, and I think there's even a link to our Instagram, which we don't post to as much as we should. We need to get a little better at that, but and then there's our Facebook page as well. And so we also teach blacksmithing and knife making classes. It's something that we've been doing for almost 10 years, but in the last few years, it's grown into a kind of its own little business, but through the company. And we have outside demonstrators that come in as well, and that teach.
That is like the ultimate manly thing. You're going to create your own knife.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so, on our website, we have our classes all listed, and you can see everything that we do. So.
Nice. Excellent. Well, JasonLaBrash, thank you very, very much for coming on here and sharing your wisdom and being a part of this community here with the Do Zone. For those of you who are interested in checking out Jason's work or attending one of his workshops in Phoenix, you can go to grizzlyiron.com. And you got to say it like this, grizzlyiron.com. So we're going to wrap up from here. Once again, grizzlyiron.com if you want to learn a little bit more about Jason and maybe come to one of his knife making workshops in Phoenix. If you're a busy entrepreneur looking to get to the next level, head over to thedozone.com for more productivity tips, tools, and strategies. You can also join our Facebook group of the same name. Until then, remember, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. What are you going to do with yours?